That's interesting. Can somebody go to the YouTube live and see if you can see it?
Says it's live. One person watching.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Because it gives me a little icon that it's private. And so that freaked me out. Okay. The time is 10:31. It is November 18th, 2023. This is the Libertarian Party of Indiana State Central Committee, and I call this meeting to order. Mr. Secretary, if you want to go ahead and call the roll.
All right. Chair McMahon is here, just speaking. Vice Chair Alexander.
Present.
Secretary Soltz is here. Treasurer Schulteis.
Here.
Political Copeland.
Here.
IT Hagerman.
Here.
Communications Smith. Looks like he's not here. D1 Schick.
Here.
D2 Cocolard. Liz, you there?
Don't see her.
She was here earlier, I thought. D3 Avery.
Here.
D4 Lundy.
Sorry, mute. Yep, I'm here.
D5 Shillings.
Did you say D5? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I did.
Yes, I'm here.
D6 Lomax.
Here.
D7 by proxy, Miss Glass.
That's me. We're here.
D8 Engelberth.
Here.
D9 Kinzer.
I'm here.
And
All
Andrew,
right.
Tom's director, just joined right after you said his name.
Oh,
I am here, though.
you here? Okay, great. Well, since he's here and Liz is not, my original count of 15 is correct then.
And Kristen, can you send a message to Liz, sending her the link and reminding her?
I already did.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to appoint Mr. Lomax as timekeeper. Thank you, Mr. Lomax, for stepping up in these difficult times. Adoption of agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay, any objection to passing the agenda as presented? Okay, hearing none, the agenda is adopted. Okay, reports of officers, starting with the chair. This was a busy month, obviously, election. We had the Amplify training the last Saturday. That was great. We had 6 people that attended, and it was 6 people that really needed to hear the information and learn it and be able to take it back to their local districts and counties. So that was great. We did have a few people who canceled at the last minute, and we had quite a few people who said they would love to go, but they just got done campaigning and really didn't want to go to something 5 days after the election, which was understood. But we did record it, so we are going to make it available in our learning annex when that comes up. And we have the booklets from Amplify, from LPF, so that we can use those as well. Let's see. Interesting thing. So there were a number of election issues that happened. And they were brought to my attention after it was too late to do anything. So as district reps, if you're hearing something, and Darren Kinzer did a great job with this the other day, he was informed about something and he said, hey, let me bring in the chair. They looped me in, and unfortunately it was too late to do anything about it. But it was a fairly big issue that we could have had addressed if I had been informed about it in advance. And so if Darren had been informed, he could have brought me in, we could have got it resolved. So this is a big thing with communicating with your county parties, is to say, hey, if you have an issue, even if you don't think it's anything big, let me as the district rep know, and then you as the district rep, let me know if you think it's something that needs to be dealt with, or that we can do something about, or, you know, if you just want to run it by me, or if it's a serious issue like the candidate's name being misspelled on the ballot. You know, or if you're having a county clerk who says, oh, we don't have to do X, Y, and Z for libertarians. 99% of the true time, if they have to do it for Republicans and Democrats, they also have to do it for libertarians. There's like the 1% where that's not true, and it involves actual paid poll workers. Everything else they have to do exactly the same. So if you hear that, feel free to loop me in, because when they call the election division is going to say, did you ask Evan? Because he knows a lot about that, which is awesome. But so the election division will have our back on those issues. But we need to be let known about it ahead of time, or as it's happening, not weeks or months later when it's too late to do something. Kristen and I traveled around the state on election day. We went to Morgan County, through Marion, Morgan County, seeing Danny Lundy. We went to Hancock County with Larry Silver. We went to Clark County to visit with Russell and Greg Hirsch, Russell Brooksbank and Greg Hirsch. And then we went down to Floyd County and hung out with the three candidates down there, Andrew Nicholson, Jeff Mayotte, and Josh Turner. We stayed down there for the election night party and hung out with them. And it was a good election. There were some victories. Obviously, Mr. Schultz was elected to the city council. Thank you for all of your hard work and many, many hours and days of grueling campaigning, Mr. Schultz. We greatly appreciate it.
Maybe none formally, but I did a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure nobody ran against me. And I've gone to meetings.
Like I
So
said,
it wasn't nothing.
an inch or a mile, a win is a win. So thank you for that. And then, you know, Libby Glass, who ran in District 13 in Marion County, did a great job as well. She's on the call today and will be giving the District 7 report. Working with Andy, we've got a lot of Civi functions and features rolled back out. Every county officer who previously had access to the LPIN Civi, who is a current county party officer, has either been emailed their NDA or was emailed their login information if they had already filled out the NDA. There are a couple people who just signed their NDA that have not gotten their login information yet. I guarantee you every single person was sent the email to the email address we have on file. It's up to them to check it and to follow through. If they did not previously have access to Civi, we are not able to set them up yet. It's the next step. I think we're going to get that done probably right after Thanksgiving, but that is coming. We did get all of the permissions issues that we had done. So we are also in the process of creating the onboarding for county parties to have their own Civi instance. I think that will be done before the first of the year. We'll have our first couple, because there are like 4 counties that were like, no, I want to be first. So you'll all be first, technically, I guess. Let's see. Also in Civi, me and Chuck Hagerman, which he'll probably talk a little bit more. We got individualized training on the what's called Search Kit, which is not something you guys have access to, but those little dashlets that you see, those are created via Search Kit. So if we see that there are searches that people are wanting to have done regularly, we can create those dashlets now by doing them. However, do not base your membership off of the current membership dashlet because it's not accurate. But so do it the way you've been taught by doing advanced search and searching for members in the district or the county. That will be accurate. Search kit is a little bit weird. That's a good question, Luke. Possibly, I don't know. Maybe. There are other things that need to be tailored for us that are kind of a higher priority, but give specifics information to Chuck, and then Chuck can add it to the punch list of things we might like to have. And
Can the
that's
YouTube people see his question, Mr. Chair?
sorry. Mr. Lomax quietly asked if we could get dashlets that were county specific. And my answer was maybe. And the process should be go to Chuck with any advancements or features you'd like to see. Send those to Chuck, and then Chuck can put them on the punch list with Andy, and then I can evaluate with Andy the priority level or the cost associated with that advancement. But at least if we have it on the list, it's on the list and can eventually hopefully be done. The holiday party went live and the convention page is live. You can purchase tickets. However, just talking to Andy the other day, I need to redo the price sets. They work, they function, but he showed me that there is a much better way of doing it. So I do need to redo that. So please don't rush out today and purchase your convention ticket. Liz is in the waiting room, so Ms. Coquillard is now present. We are going to have a training session and a video on creating ticketed or registration events for the district. You guys can do it for the county. The counties won't be able to do that themselves. They'll be able to create their own events, but if they wanted to have something that's ticketed or something that you have to register for, it'll need to be done through the district rep, not the county chair.
When do you plan on having that training?
Before the end of the year. And it won't be a training, it'll be a video that you guys can watch. And then you can ask questions. If you have questions, you can ask me or Chuck. I have reached out to IJ, the Institute for Justice, asking if the lawyer who worked on the TIPS case, that was the case of civil asset forfeiture with a Range Rover here in Indiana that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. They ruled in favor of the individual. They said that it was excessive. I've invited them or asked them if they would be interested in being our keynote speaker at the banquet to talk about that case and the impact of civil asset forfeiture and the impact that was had when the state basically said, we don't care what the U.S. Supreme Court says, we're not giving it back. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, moving on to the vice chair, Ms. Alexander.
So Evan basically told you most of what I was going to say. Did a lot of running around. I do want to let it be known that I intend to go to as many county conventions as possible. So when you find out when your counties and your district have conventions, will you please forward me the information? I want to go. I want to be there to hold candidates' hands, help them fill out their very first paperwork. I want to make a little packet for them that will have all of the 2024 file dates. I know they can get this information in other places, but if we make it easy for them and I can hand it to them, maybe then 2024 will go a little bit smoother. We won't have filing issues. And then also just a reminder to please send me names of people in your districts that are interested in being a delegate to national. We are hopefully going to end up with a really good amount of delegates, and I want to fill as many spots as possible, all of them. That is all.
Any questions for the vice chair? Okay, hearing none, moving on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Schultheis.
As of yesterday, across all of our accounts, we have $23,250.27. I did switch us back to QuickBooks, so we should have better reporting going forward. I did notice that some of our data from the previous time we were using QuickBooks was in QuickBooks still. They didn't delete our data like they said they were when we canceled last time. So I sent out a updated balance sheet this morning, but going forward, we should have accurate data and better ability to do reporting.
Nice. Any questions for the treasurer? Okay, hearing none, moving on to the secretary. Mr. Secretary, do you have anything to report?
Yes, thank you to Madam Vice Chair for taking notes for me in the September meeting, or for stepping in for me in the September meeting, but it wasn't recorded and there weren't a lot of minutes taken, so we had very basic minutes for the September meeting. There was really no action items taken. And I also sent out along with the normal October meeting minutes, also the email ballot from October 14th. So you should have had the 3 attachments in that email. Mr. Chair, do you want to accept all 3 as one, or do we need to do them separately?
I believe we can accept them all as one. Is there a motion to accept the minutes for the September, October, and email ballot as presented by Mr. Schultz?
So
I'd
moved.
make that. I'd
Moved
second
by
it.
Mr. Lomax, seconded by Mr. Kinzer. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. The minutes for those 3 are adopted. Anything else, Mr. Schultz? Nope. Any questions for Mr. Schultz? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Schultz, by the way, there is a folder. I will double check that you have access to it. There is an all-encompassing Google Drive folder for the LPIN. And there's a specific folder in there for agendas, which I'll add after each meeting. The video recording or link and the minutes drafted and then approved. Okay. So if you can be responsible for putting the minutes once they're approved in there.
And if you could share that to the LPIN secretary account, because there's a drive for that too.
Okay. Perfect. Moving on, there is no one here from the LNC to give an update. So that I will just say that the national membership report came out. We were reported as having, and I'm going to use that phrasing, we were reported as having 479 national BSM members, which puts us in 8th rank, which means we will get automatic appointments to, I think, the bylaws and platform committee. And also the top 10 placement at the national convention. Yeah, so that's that. We have 38 delegate spots as of right now. I can tell you that I have been looking and that number 479 is incorrect. We have quite a few more than that. I am not exactly sure how many at this point, but it will be more than that, and we will have a fairly large delegation to fill. That is really all I can tell you from the national standpoint. I don't know. I know that the next in-person meeting is in December, and I know the issue of bad membership numbers will be mentioned vigorously at that meeting. It's an in-person meeting in California. I am not going to go to that meeting because the August meeting, it just happened to be that I was also going to be in DC that same week. So I stayed so that I could attend the meeting. Had I not been there earlier in the week, I would not have stayed for it or gone to it. It is something that I think that Indiana should do at some point, is consider setting a budget to send someone, either the chair or the vice chair or somebody, to represent the LPIN at every national meeting. More than just having our district rep, there is a lot that can happen at the meeting. And when it's the chairs of the region communicating with Dustin or the district rep or the district alt via messenger. It's not the same as being in the room. And there was quite a lot that I was able to do while being in the room, while physically being there, that I don't think would have got done via messenger.
Greg did mention that he's going to be at the meeting in California.
Yeah, they have to. It's an in-person meeting. So Greg and Dustin are both going to be there. And I did just talk to Dustin the other day. He was very disappointed that he got beaten in his campaign, but he's rebounding. He was running for office in Ohio. Any questions about national that I may or may not be able to answer? Okay. Hearing none, moving on to reports of directors. Political director, Mr. Copeland.
Yes, sir. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Or
You cannot. Let me turn that on for you.
Okay.
Right here. There you go. Now you can.
all right. I've been trying to work on this while work has been absolutely running me ragged. So by my count, we had 36 candidates across the state, and in our districted races, we count 2 wins, Clayton and Patricia Warner for the position of Claypool Town Clerk Treasurer. And in the at-large races, we have a win with Susan Kleinfelter for Etna Green Town Council. Of course, some of the large races we were following didn't turn out the way we wanted to, with Floyd County, JT Turner down there. He came within 3%, about 300 votes, of winning his race for a New Albany Town Council at large. The lowest winner, I believe, was about 17%. And the effort that he put in, and also over here with Danny's race, just goes to show that canvassing brings results. A note on Danny's race, in that election, the straight ticket voting, let me see here, I have the numbers. Straight ticket voting for his opponent, 428 out of his opponent's total of 457.
That's for the county, not my opponent.
Well,
Martinsville had no unopposed races. His was 250. I got the precinct level data.
okay, so 250. But still, without straight ticket voting, it's a very different race. I mean, percentage wise.
You assume those people wouldn't voted Republican just because the button didn't exist. That's a different discussion for a different time.
True. So I misinterpreted the results on that, but regardless, I think that if you look at our percentage across all these different races, we are showing a very strong positive trend. Our candidates just a few years ago, I think, would be around the 10% as a good turnout. And we're seeing races regularly in 3-way races hit 15, 20%. So I am very positive with our growth, but but we need to do better and get more active with our canvassing efforts. All right. And now there we go. That's what I have, and I'll be polishing this up and getting a copy for everybody.
Can I clarify something just very briefly?
Sure.
Since my name was on there. So it did say 0 votes next to my name.
I was unable to.
Yeah. So there was literally no election in Jonesboro. That none of the races in Jonesboro were contested. All of the incumbents and the people wanting to run sat down ahead of time and kind of decided it was an evil secret cabal deciding who was going to run for office and who was going to step down. And there was going to be one person running against the mayor, but he dropped out. So the county decided simply not to hold an election because there was nothing to vote on.
Yes, you won without firing a single shot, which is a very impressive way to win.
Yeah, Donald Rainwater should have just talked his other opponents into not running, honestly. That was bad strategy on his part. So maybe next time.
All right, any questions for Mr. Copeland?
This is Adrian.
Mr. Engelberg?
Real quick. When you run the numbers, could you take the percentages of the votes, run an average, and also spit out a median so we could report back, for future growth purposes, we compare averages and medians, and we can, once again, like linearly prove it's going up.
I will try to look back at historic data. I've just not had the time in my week to do so, but I will.
No, just for this election, it'd be a good starting point.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to get numbers like that.
Yep.
Are we weighting the 3-party races versus 2-party races differently? Because mine is 22.2%, but there were only 2 people in that race, so it might skew the numbers a little. It would give us more hope than we necessarily deserve. I don't know.
That probably is a good idea, Mr. Copeland. Let's sit down and figure out a metric on how to accurately and fairly measure those, because we should have a metric that says if we're up against in a 2-way race for 1 seat, if we're in a 3-way race for 1 seat versus in a 6-way or 7-way race for 3 seats, those numbers are going to be different.
Right. Just anecdotally, for you, Libby, your race included a lot of precincts that were in my 2016 race and my 2019 race. But going back to my best comparison of the 2016 race, you didn't have a bunch of more Republican precincts, and I only got 18% in a 2-way race that year. So that is definite growth.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, but I want us to keep working hard and growing, but not inflate the numbers. So that's why.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And also, please wait to be called on. Next is communications, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to report, but one thing I will say is that anything like Paul, if you can share that spreadsheet with me, I would be happy to have it, because that's very useful for me to kind of crunch some numbers as well and go over, but and celebrate our victories. But again, I'm here to serve you. Anything that you have that you feel like needs to be shared media wise with the state, please get it to me. And also email me at comms@lpin.org, but also drop me a note in the messenger chat, because that I typically will see a lot more quickly, and that'll give me a quick reminder to get on it and get that out. So and I think the thing I'd like to do in 2024, especially as we'll have an election year that's a little bit more than municipal elections, is I'd like to really ramp up our social media presence. It's a little bit dormant right now. And so I'll be looking for volunteers and people to help us do that and have hopefully daily content spreading the libertarian message while also supporting our candidates post-convention and amplifying their messages as well.
Actually, to that point, if I can just, with the indulgence of the body, Mr. Smith, Ms. Coquillard, Ms. Avery, can everybody be available this Monday?
Yes.
let me, before I actually say that,
My district meeting is at 6:30, so around that.
If you're asking everybody, I wouldn't be available.
I'm not, I'm asking
Monday.
the comms team, so be quiet.
Damn it.
Actually, if you guys just message me what your availability is on Monday and Tuesday, then we'll set up a social media comms team meeting. Cool. Okay, any questions for Communications Director, Mr. Smith? Okay, hearing none, moving on to tech, Mr. Hagerman.
All right, so I've been keeping Wild Apricot up to date. Paul, I ran into Paul when I was voting for nobody, and he said there were some candidates he added, but they didn't have the relationships. I think I found 2. I think there were 3, so we still need to get 1 set up, but I added those. While I was in there, I found some candidate data that was wrong and corrected that. I sent Darren Kinzer an email to reset his password. And I know that's not much of a big deal, but I hadn't done that before. And it at least shows that that is working in our new Civi. So he had no problem getting in after that. As Evan mentioned, I attended training with Andy and him on the new Civi. He showed us how Search Kit works, and I was in there messing around. It's not terribly intuitive, and I was trying to recreate my own report that I use for Wild Apricot, and I couldn't get the same numbers, but I was starting to get close. And then it got late, and I had to go to another meeting, so I had to leave. But I will be trying to do some things in Search Kit. If you have things that you would like, then I could work on those. But I think ultimately I'll have to create your report in advanced search and then create it in Search Kit until I get the same result, and then I can save and put that out there, because it's not set up the same way as advanced search. It's hard to tell if you've picked the right field, and so that's the end of my report. Are there any questions, Michael?
Go ahead, Michael.
Unless you didn't have your hand up for me.
Mr. Schulteis. Okay. I will say this, something that we did discover with Search Kit is those dashlets will not work on the county party site. He's investigating that. They will not work at all. It's the only thing that doesn't cross over, and we can't create new ones on the county because it will reflect back to the state. So like our membership report, we would end up having 93 different membership dashlets on the state site. So Andy's investigating that with the Civic Core team to figure out why it doesn't work for what's essentially is multi-host for the county parties. Chuck, keep an eye out. I think Michael dropped. There he is. Mr. Schulteis, go ahead.
This is probably for you, Evan, rather than Chuck. Do we have an update on our telephone system yet?
We do not. I need to get with Alyssa's husband to work on that.
Okay.
Did you have something else? Do you have an alternative for it?
No, but I went ahead and renewed our current system since it was expiring.
Okay.
So we have about a year to work on the new system.
Can we cancel that and claw part of that back?
I'm not certain. Possibly. We'd have to reach out to their billing department.
Okay. Okay, membership report from our vice chair, Ms. Alexander.
You will see the membership report looks a little different. If you hate it, tell me. If you don't, whatever. There is currently, we have 589 total memberships with 525 unique members. We have a 2.9% increase in members from last month. And it's not a great year overall change, but we're holding steady while everybody else in the country is losing. So there we go. If you want to see any more data in this report, let me know. I've found a better way to correlate it and present it. So that's it.
I had an interesting thing that I did. It's less membership, but more financial. I went through all of our state campaign finance reports since 1997 and took the annual. I also did it for the Republicans, the Democrats, and the Greens. By the way, the worst month that we have ever had as a state party is better than the best year that the Green Party has ever had. Just FYI. I thought that was sad. They literally have years where they only had $57 for the entire year. We've had our best 3 fundraising years in the history of the party have been the last 3 years. Our average is around 54,000. Prior to that, our average now is around 80,000 for the last 3 years. So, and that's interesting because that also correlates when we look at our long-term national numbers. We're higher, or excuse me, our membership numbers, we're higher now as a state party than we've been in the last 15 years. Our national membership numbers, our peak was, I think, 615 was our peak. And remember that number for the next couple of weeks. 615 was our peak national membership. So that's something to keep in mind, where right now we're being reported as 479, but that number will probably change in the next couple of weeks. Remember 615. Any questions for Ms. Alexander on the membership report?
I just got to say, I love the way it looks. It's great.
Moving on, District 1, Mr. Schick.
Okay, District 1, everything's status quo. Lake County, Chuck and Caleb continue to keep their paperwork up to date, but they don't hold any regular meetings. In Porter and LaPorte counties, we continue to have regular meetings. And there was one candidate in Michigan City, but he did not do much canvassing, so we wound up with 3.5% of the vote in Michigan City. And that's it for me. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Schick? Okay, hearing none. District 2, Ms. Coquillard.
Hey guys, I have just a few announcements. Our county monthly meetings continue. Our website is coming together really nicely. We had a meeting about that this week. LPIND2.org. Check it out. December 7th, Elkhart County Cannabis Town Hall will occur at Goshen County Library from 5 to 7. If you'd like to schedule a county town hall, contact at libertyoffense.org is the email that you can do so to get that going. We have Jeff Staker from Hoosier Veterans for Medical Cannabis, Rick Antis from Michigan Weedsters, which is a caregiving group that does a lot of advocacy. Indiana Normal, Jack Kane, and then Will Henry for the Food First Initiative. Lastly, December 9th is our district service Saturday, and we are going to work with a local group to feed the homeless. Details for that will be forthcoming. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Coquillard. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to District 3, Ms. Avery.
I'll keep it short and simple. I emailed out our report with the election results. It was a little disappointing, but we're going to keep chugging along. We're working on getting the Allen County Convention lined up. Haven't got that figured out yet, but I haven't heard anything from anybody else about conventions, so I'll probably bring that up at our meeting on Monday. And that's pretty much it.
Yep. Any questions for Ms. Avery? Okay, hearing none. District 4, Mr. Lundy.
Yep. All right. So first I want to start with we're down in our district about, I don't know, 5 members, like Kristen said. Mostly it's maintaining this year. There's not been a lot of growth, but I do want to shout out to Hendricks County, who is our only county that's up from where we were at convention time. So they're continuing to grow and continuing to do good work out there. So I want to make sure they get a little recognition here. Obviously, we didn't have any wins in District 4. I did find that there was a unknown Libertarian running in Jasper County. I find that on the Secretary of State's website. Go search for Libertarians. I know I've talked to Evan about this, but we had several candidates running as Libertarians. We have no idea who they are. They're not members. They're not anything. So I intend to track this guy down and reach out to him, see if he's somebody who would be interested in getting more involved, because they're clearly willing to put their name out there and do something. So, we don't have an affiliate in Jasper County. Maybe this guy would be interested in doing that. So, and obviously there's going to be some vetting involved because we don't want to, you know what I'm saying. But that's pretty much it for District 4. It was, this month was all about the election. And no wins, maybe a new contact. That's where we're at. Any questions?
I will point out that Morgan County and District 4 had their member and volunteer appreciation chili cook-off on November 11th. And I know that Libby Glass from Marion County and a couple people from some other counties attended that as well. It's a great thing to do if you can organize that or talk to your county parties about organizing an appreciation between the election and Thanksgiving. It's a great time that's not business related. It's just, let's get together and do something fun. It's a great idea. I encourage everybody to try to do that.
Yep. And at this point, it's almost a joint thing with Johnson County because they're running one of our events because we don't have enough volunteers to do it that weekend, right? So,
any questions for Mr. Lundy? Hearing none. District 5, Ms. Schillings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Grant County celebrated the first electoral win. Again, congratulations to Clayton. Thank you. He has contacted me about creating another I-69 corridor event so that we can have kind of a get together in District 5. Basically, just get together on a weekend and kind of do something fun and exciting. Some details will be coming soon. I've not been able to do much planning because of work. I've been super busy, but we do want to proceed with that sometime in December. Their 2024 convention will be January 27th at 10:30 a.m. at Sender's Cafe in Marion. Hamilton County's regular meeting was held this past Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. And we established that we will not be having a December meeting due to holiday schedules. Our county convention will be January 14th, 2024, 2 p.m. at the Fisher's Library. Again, thank you to Mr. Schulteis for reserving that room with his library card. Delaware County, I had one person reach out to me from Delaware County. I believe he is a new member and was interested in becoming more involved. I emailed him back, but I have not received any reply yet. I did CC our vice chair on that communication. Nothing from my other counties at this time, and thank you. That's all I have.
Ms. Schillings, the same individual emailed me directly stating that there was no county party in Delaware and wanted to know about helping to organize.
Mm-hmm.
And so I replied back, and I also did not hear anything. That was a couple weeks ago. I believe it was, I want to say it was like 2 days before the election is when I got that email.
I think this was the night of the election that I received an email.
So yeah. And the other person that we've exchanged emails about has emailed me now 3 different times, FYI.
Okay.
Asking interesting questions. Any questions for Ms. Schillings? Mr. Lundy has requested an extra minute to speak. If there's no objection, Mr. Lundy, go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure I get the conventions on the record for my counties. Hendricks County's convention will be January 10th at the Plainfield Library, 6 p.m. Morgan County's convention will be January 13th at 11 a.m. at the Morgan County Library in Martinsville. And Tippecanoe's convention is scheduled for January 8th at 6 p.m. Location to be determined. That way, if there's any candidates watching this who want to come talk to the delegates, those are your times. Those are actually all the second week of January. So,
thank you, Mr. Lundy. District 6, Mr. Lomax.
All right. So District 6, we had Larry Silver running for the mayoral race in Hancock County for Greenfield, and he received 4.7% of the vote. I know that wasn't on Paul's report, but that's because Hancock County is notorious about like posting stuff and then taking it down, or posting it on one website and not the other, because they have two websites that they pay $30,000 a month for. So yeah. So anyway,
Did you say per month? I'm interrupting. Stop the time. Did you say per month?
Yes.
30,000 per month.
That was, well, I don't know if it's every month, but it was a monthly line item on
I
a
need to get
budget
back into
last month.
web hosting.
Yeah. So we had our county meeting in Hancock County on Thursday, November 9th. We met a new potential member / candidate for county commissioner. He is a local business owner that owns a construction company, is very active. So we are walking him through the membership process right now, and getting him vetted so that we can make sure that he's ready for our convention, which will be held in the second or third week of January. That is still pending. I have not heard from other county chairs on when their convention is. I know Matt Kappas is working on getting Civi CRM access back so that he can post the Johnson County Convention, because if I know him, he's already got it planned. He just hasn't had the ability to post it yet. So yeah, other than that, haven't heard much in District 6. We learned some valuable lessons from this election, and we're going to take those away and be a lot more successful in 2024. So that's it for me. Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Lomax, just to clear that up, Mr. Kappas did receive or was sent the email, and I believe you verified that. He has not signed it yet.
Right.
FYI. Also, you can post his convention, and you can send out the email to Johnson County members and contacts on his behalf, so he doesn't technically have to wait.
I have offered that as well. So
okay.
Yep.
But it's on him. The ball's in his court. Any questions for Mr. Lomax? Can you go ahead and answer that?
No, Kristen, we do not know when the Johnson County Convention will be yet.
Okay. District 7, Miss Libby Glass.
Adam sent me something to say. It says not much to report. Marion County had their monthly meeting and had 2 new attendees. According to Adam, I did really well on my campaign for city council, and our executive team is working on finalizing the finer details of our service day, and our county convention is in January, so we're still finalizing that. Sincerely, Adam Johnson.
Is there anything that you personally would like to add, Ms. Glass? It's okay if you don't.
Well, Mark got quite a bit of percentage of his race as well, so I'd like to acknowledge Mark Renholzberger as well. So
I would have, except every single time I say his name, I get it comically wrong.
I practiced it so I could. I practiced it so I could, whenever I had a radio hit, I could promote him too. So,
Ms. Glass, would you put that in the chat, please, so I can copy paste it into the minutes?
If I must.
Mr. Johnson
did just his name.
Oh,
just his name, so I know how to spell it. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Glass? Okay, hearing none. District 8, Mr. Engelberth.
Yeah, so in District 8, it's been hit or miss in the last month. We did have Michael Dougherty, mayoral candidate for Evansville, reach out asking for help multiple times, which I'm more than happy to give. It was a learning process for me, learning things like the AARP has rules about getting candidates in their system for interviews, which is a 10% floor if based off the previous election. And even if you get to the 10%, if the media is polling, they make it very clear, media poll, you have to be over 15%. And since no one ever polls the Evansville race, next in 4 years, the next mayoral candidate for Evansville will automatically meet the AARP rules, and they'll get all the press from that, unless someone convinces the media in Evansville to start polling. Du Bois County, we're hosting our annual convention on January 20th at 10 a.m. at the Greater Jasper Public Library. There's that. We don't have any other convention information yet from the other counties. We are hosting the 8th District is hosting a business meeting at 3:15 to fill vacancies. We think we're going to be able to fill them, and we're hosting it, and we're going to get some people in there and try to get some people in officer positions. For those who don't know, the 8th District is actually formally organized, and so we have been operating very low on people. So trying to get people fired up for next year. That's all I have. Any questions?
A couple of things. I do know that the District 8 business meeting is on the calendar, but what was the date for it? I know I saw
today.
Oh, it's today. Okay, good luck. But it is not the District 8 convention, correct? It's just a business.
Correct. It's a business meeting.
Okay.
Evan, I had sent you the bylaws for review.
I'm looking at them.
Yeah. There are things in the bylaws that made it have to be a business meeting to backfill.
Yeah.
So
I have looked at them. I haven't written anything up for you. You are correct. There are some issues with the District 8 bylaws, and I plan on making recommendations for you guys on how to clean those up a little bit. Thank you for asking for that, by the way. That's good work. It's always a good idea to just have somebody get a second opinion on it. In your district folder for you as a district rep, in your SCC folder in the Google Drive, it would be a good idea to maybe have all of your counties have their own folder.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep a copy of that email exchange from the AARP with a copy of a screenshot of the election results. Have a look or store those in there so that in 4 years, whether it's you or the next person can come back and say, hey, this is what you said 4 years ago. We did it. They can change the rules whenever they want, but we can make political hay out of it if they change the rules arbitrarily 4 years later. So do keep those records and make sure that it's in that folder so that the next district rep in 4 years has access to it and can give them, grief if they decide to be jerks.
Yeah. We did run into that, as you well know, with how many groups leaving Michael off of debates and everything. So it's a constant effort. I mean, it's really on the candidate, but it is a constant effort to fight back. Hey, remember, you're supposed to, helping people out. So,
and to that point, Mr. Doherty and Vanderburgh County and the district did a great job. If Mr. Doherty was left out of something or was being excluded, they would politely email back 90% of the time, and say, hey, I think maybe there was a mistake here. This candidate was left off. And if they received a negative response or no response, either Mr. Engelberth or Mr. McDonald, the county chair, would kick it up to me, and then I could intercede and coax them into including them. And we ended up getting Mr. Doherty included in the televised debate the day of. It was that morning. We had I was informed that morning and spent 2 or 3 hours working on it. And ultimately we got him in the televised debate that evening. Never feel like you're bothering. The county chairs shouldn't feel like they're bothering their district rep. The district rep and the county chairs should never feel like you're bothering me. This is what I'm here for. This is what you guys are here for. I've had to say that probably 15 times this quarter to county chairs and candidates. Don't feel like you're bothering me. This is one, telling a clerk they're doing something wrong is like, that's candy for me. So don't deny me my sugar fix. But so District 8 did a great job this year of pushing things up the line as quickly as possible to get some of these things taken care of. And so I'm really proud of the work that you guys did in Vanderburgh County. So congrats on that. District 9, Mr. Kinzer.
So I haven't heard from a few of the counties. Floyd County, though, for the election, we had 3 great candidates in New Albany. Josh, of course, worked his butt off down there, door knocking and talking to voters. Came in, I think he came in by like 1% was where he was at on the at-large seat. So he done a really awesome job. I hated that for him. Clark County had 2 great candidates. We all know, of course, with Greg and Russell down there representing the LPIN and the Libertarian Party of Indiana, and getting the word out down there. In Clark County, Lawrence County, of course, we didn't have any candidates this time around. But we are gearing up for the Christmas parade for downtown Bedford. We hope that people will come down and join us again, like they have for the last couple of years. It's a great time at our Christmas parade here. It's at nighttime and it's a lot of fun. So we encourage anybody and everybody to come down and be with us. We definitely want some people to come. Jefferson County recently was going to have a meeting just a couple days ago. They had to reschedule due to attendance. They didn't have the people to be there. I was unable to be able to go. Neither was Greg. And Ronald had a sick person in his family he had to deal with. So they're working on rescheduling that. Harrison County hasn't had any meetups since the last time I was there that I know of. Haven't got to hear from Sean down there. And that was back in August when me and Tanya visited that meeting. Washington County had a meeting on the 16th. Their chair was unable to attend that, but the vice chair and everybody was there. Tommy Brown ran for mayor in that county. I believe if the last time I heard it was like 67 votes. I don't know the exact number. Monroe County, if I'm not wrong, Kristen, you can help me if I'm wrong here. I believe you're still holding regular meetups in Monroe County. I haven't had a chance to hear from Sydney, but you're having the trivia night still once a week, I believe, or once every other week. I'd like to get back up there to see you guys. We're all just gearing up for 2024. Our conventions were in the planning stages right now. For Lawrence County will definitely be the second week of January, I believe, is when we got it set for. And that'll be at Asian Pearl in Bedford. Unless something changes, I'll let you guys know more as we get those dates ironed down for all the counties. But I'm absolutely proud of everyone for the dedication and hard work this election. And we look forward to 2024. Any questions?
What was the date for the Christmas parade?
It's the first Saturday in December, so December 2nd.
Okay, thank you.
We'd love to have you down here if you got availability.
I do not, but other people should go. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kinzer? I will say that one of the issues that popped up was an election issue. There was a new law that went into effect January 1st, and I won't cite the code for you, but it essentially requires that all candidates within one race be on the same page, not a page flip or a scroll. They must be visible on the same page. Also, a previous law in the subsection right before that one, district races must come before at-large races. So the at-large race must be the last one on the ballot. Floyd County did none of those things. The at-large race being the last option as the Libertarian, you had to scroll to see Mr. Turner's name. And they did the at-large before they did the district. Mr. Turner reached out to the clerk and talked to her about it the first day of early voting. And the clerk basically said, the vendor says they have to use this font, which creates this gap that puts it on to scroll. They can't fix it. And they didn't bring it to my attention until after the election. There is no mechanism to do anything post-election, but we would have been able to fix that because it is a requirement that they've not the scroll and the page turn is as of July 1st. They cannot do that anymore. They all must be visible at the same time. So had they brought it to our attention, we could have done something about it, and a court would have said it doesn't matter the cost. The law is the law. You have to fix it. Mr. Lundy.
I just wanted to point out that's why it's so important that our county chairs talk to their clerks about getting a copy of the ballot well ahead of time. If you have a candidate on the ballot and you are the chair, you should be getting a copy of every ballot ahead of time. Like, they email them to me. I've got a great relationship with our clerk. You verify that stuff ahead of time, and that way you can ask these questions and get it fixed well before election day.
I am also going to be sending a letter to the clerks outlining some of the issues, including that they're supposed to be sending sample ballots to the county clerk or to the county chair. And if there is no county chair, they're supposed to send them to me as the state chair. They're also supposed to send notification of the testing of the machines and the viewing of the ballot placements of the machines. All of those things. This is one of those issues where they say they don't have to notify the Libertarian. That is actually not true. They are required by law to notify. It is incumbent on you as the county chair, if you don't get notified, to bring it up. But I'm going to be sending a letter about that, also about the scrolling page turn issue. Again, our watcher card issues. All of those things are issues that I'll be putting in a letter, and that will be county specific, that will have the county chair at that time. And a notification that if the county chair changes, there will be notice sent to the county clerk about that. But so we're going to be putting that on there, or I'm going to be sending that letter out after the first of the year. Just FYI, Mr. Kinzer.
You also, I think in another call we had, you mentioned also that unaffiliated counties that you would be getting those notifications to, we would need to do our best as district reps to make sure we're making it to those meetings in those unaffiliated counties, so that way we can verify that those ballots are correct.
Right. When I get those notices about the ballot, the machine testing dates, I'll be sending those to you guys. And because I can't go to all of them, or very many of them at all, but if you can arrange, either you go or have somebody that can be knowledgeable to go, and really they just have to check to see if there's a problem, and then report back. But so I'll be coordinating with you guys on that. When I get notification, I'll be coming to you as the district rep to say, hey, these are the dates that I've received for the unaffiliated counties getting testing. You can lower your hand, Mr. Kinzer. Mr. Engelberg, and then Ms. Schillings.
Does the county or is the county clerk required by law to send it to, like to me as Du Bois County chair, if there are no Libertarians on the ballot?
Yes, it does not matter.
Okay.
If there is a ballot within the county, they are required by law to send it to the county chairs for review, even if we don't have a candidate on the ballot.
Okay.
Ms. Schillings, was that your question?
I was just wondering, since there's early voting, I've never received a notice about machine testing here in the several years. So do I need to actively contact my clerk and say, can you please ensure I'm on that list?
Yes. And so I will be, when I send these letters out, I'm also going to send a sample copy to each of the district reps. I might send a copy to each county chair as well.
Thank you.
Because it will have the district rep and the county chair's contact information on it, as well as my own. But yes, yeah.
Thank you.
But this will be a strongly worded letter in legalese that basically says, hey, listen, these are our rights. And if they are infringed upon, we have a legal fund. And your failure to do your job can replenish our legal fund. Mr. Kinzer.
So I just wanted to add one last thing. You were talking to everyone about what happened with Josh down in New Albany on having to scroll down to see his name and stuff. I'm going to be working with every one of my county chairs in the affiliated counties, and I encourage everyone to make sure that we are looking at these things, because like you said earlier, Mr. Chair, that if we could have known this at the beginning stages, we could have probably got this fixed. And that's something that I wish I would have known before the election, not days after the election. So that really made the difference. So I encourage everyone to watch it highly closely.
Yep. And Mr. Lomax, I'm going to correct you there. Our poll watchers are not subject to objections. The only objection is if they are not a registered voter within the county, but that is it. And they don't even really have the authority to verify that, because it's a pains and penalties of perjury of you as the county chair signing their poll watcher card that you have verified it. Technically within the law, no, there is no requirement for them to be a party member to be a poll watcher. We do require it as part of our agreement. It is a condition for a person being appointed as a poll watcher. But other than that, no. No, you cannot contact the county clerk about being appointed as a poll worker. Maybe a poll worker in the sense of if they have vacancies with the R's and D's, they might be able to place somebody as a poll worker where they are paid by the county. That doesn't happen very often. But poll watchers are only appointed by the county chair, period. And we are not even required to provide them a list of who our poll watchers are. We went rounds and rounds about this in 2022. They have no authority to deny our poll watchers entry into the polling place and to do their job. It is a good idea, however, to send a list to the county clerk, but it is also, you should include the language in there, which I believe we have in that drive, that specifically says, well, I am not obligated under the law to do this. This is a courtesy copy of the poll watchers that we have designated. Here is a sample of what our poll watcher card looks like. Other than that, they have no authority over our poll watchers at all. Okay. Yeah, sometimes when the reps, the Dems and Republicans don't fill all their spots, they'll just hire anybody, and sometimes they will ask Libertarians to fill the seats. It's questionable because they're not a Republican or a Democrat. But anyway, okay, 10-minute break time. Is there any objection to working through the break?
I object to working through the break.
I saw you get up from your chair. Okay, there's an objection, so we will go to the break. We're at recess for 10 minutes, so please be back at 11:47. And do remember, we are still recording and live streaming.
Yeah, when I contacted my county clerk to be a poll worker, she's like, well, just contact whichever party aligns most with your beliefs. I'm like, I'll stop you there. Both of them have more in common than I do with them. And she's like, oh, well, in that case, just contact me and I will get you into a spot, because I guess they're always hurting for poll workers in Elkhart County. So
yeah, so Republicans and Democrats, so every paid position on election day has is required to have a Republican and a Democrat. We don't have any at all. If they fail to fill theirs, the clerk can put people in, and it's a paid position. You get paid to do that work. The clerk has more authority to, quote, hire people that may not have necessarily been a party, met the requirements of the Republicans and Democrats under the law. So it's a little different, but even then still, a Republican can challenge a Democrat poll worker if that poll worker hasn't voted in the last two primaries as a Democrat. They can challenge them. So even if a clerk puts you in that position, one of the parties could still challenge it because you're not part of that party and didn't vote in the primary.
she didn't tell me that.
Yeah, because she probably doesn't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that clerks don't know.
Yeah, I think Diego needs to get on that.
Interesting thing. There's normally a conference every year in December, and I was the first state chair to go to it last year. They apparently are not holding it this year, and it's the election administrators annual conference. Doesn't seem to be happening this year.
And that was super useful that you went, because I had a question in Morgan County that came up. We were closing out Kristen's committee and they were trying to kick it back saying the dates were wrong. Like, we're closing a committee in an off election year for her. So what?
Yeah. And it was nice because there were a lot of county clerks that were able to meet a Libertarian And the election division said, if you have a problem, call Evan first before you call us, because he might be able to fix it or help you. And if you guys don't know or can't come to a solution, then call the election division.
Yeah, I think it was on my second reply. I copied Evan, and she saw that and just asked Evan directly, and it all got worked out nice and amicably. And yeah.
But yeah, they're apparently not doing it this year, which is going into this election cycle. Seems like the year you'd want to do that, but you know.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a side note, my daughter, my 17-year-old, volunteered to work at the polls this year. So that was a proud mama moment.
It is an excused absence in school.
It sure is.
Can count for credit.
Except for Concord still counted it as an unexcused absence, then sent me a threatening letter about mandatory what word did it use that pissed me off? Interventions. I'm like, are you serious? I sent a scathing letter back, but yeah.
It is under state law. It is an excused absence if you are working the polls on election day. And that can be for a candidate too. You are excused. So if you go and volunteer for a campaign or the county party and you're working at a polling place on election day, it is an excused absence.
My work has one of those, like, we'll pay you a day to go volunteer and do, community service days. And they allow me to use election day for that. So
nice,
because I'm working the polls.
One thing I should have said during my report that I forgot to say is when it comes to deduping, it works differently, or it doesn't work for me, and it does work for Evan. So if you have any dedupes, please send those to me so that me and Evan and Andy can work together to find out why it's not doing it correctly for me.
Yeah, what happens is it's weird for Chuck and what that means is a duplicate contact. So when we merge them, it's supposed to delete the one that we're duplicating from. Works fine for me, but it merges everything, but then doesn't delete the other contact for Chuck. And we don't know why, but we also don't have anybody to dedupe right now. So we couldn't test it to try to find out why it wasn't working because we didn't have anybody at the time. So if you see one, let us know. Send us an email and let us know. And all you have to do is look for the contact ID for those members and send us that. The contact ID is it says CID equals in the URL towards the end, or down at the very bottom of the page. There's a list of contact IDs. It looks like it's in the footer, but it's actually not.
So can we go back to the poll worker thing? You said by law they have to have a Republican and a Democrat.
Yes.
Okay.
They don't have to fill it, but
who checks that?
They have to. It's the county parties.
Okay, because at the precinct that I was at all day, the quote unquote Republican was voting for Jesse, my opponent. So I mean, I guess you're allowed to vote for a socialist if you want as a Republican, but
the Republican Party appointed them or the county clerk assigned them, in which case it's the Republican Party's fault for not filling the spot. So we don't have grounds to challenge the membership status. It has to be either the Republican or Democrat that challenges it.
Your point, though, it is good to, I guess, have some form of relationship, especially with the minor party in your county. Because we've had the Democrat Party reach out in Morgan County and say, hey, we're short. We don't have enough poll workers. Do you guys have somebody that would be willing to work for the day? And we've had Anna Elliott go work polls or do some of the things that need to be done because they simply don't have enough people. So that they will be willing to reach out because at least you're not whatever the majority party is. Like in your case, Libby, it would be, hey, they don't have enough Republicans, so we'll just appoint two Democrats to this one. From the Republican standpoint, it's better to have at least a Libertarian so you have a check and balance, right? So
Yeah, I'll be speaking with my brother about that.
Okay, so Evan, I got a quick question for you. So everything that I posted in the chat was referencing an email that I received last November about being a poll watcher, and there was a link to a digital drive. But now when I click that link, it just takes me to the LPIN website. It takes me to the homepage.
Can you forward me the link that you had?
Yeah, I'll forward you the email here. Give me a sec.
We will be discussing a potential solution to this problem shortly under the data team report.
I already have the folder set up.
Danny, by the way, I absolutely love that avatar screensaver screenshot, whatever that is. I'm a big Thrawn fan.
Same.
So,
and that quote in particular, I really enjoy, especially for this in the Libertarian Party.
That's right.
Christy Avery, question for you. Oh, you know why? So the reason why, Luke, is because that was an email that was actually sent from Civi, and so Civi changes the URLs in those emails so it's trackable in Civi. So while it goes to the Google Drive, it is re-coded by Civi, and that was last year. So Civi isn't there anymore, so it's not, or that version of Civi isn't there anymore, so it's not pulling that drive or pulling that link correctly.
Yeah, I can't find it in the Google Drive either. But I mean, I apparently Danny has a solution that he's going to present or propose or already enacted, or something along those lines. So
Share a working Google Drive. You just add participants to your drive, invite them to the drive itself.
No, I have absolute full access to the state party's Google Drive. If I go into Google Drive on my computer as I'm logged in as District 6, it lets me go to this shared with me page, and it's the whole state drive. So all of my
I
stuff
don't have
that I've
that.
never done. Oh,
There's some things that have been shared with me and a lot of things that have not.
Yeah, you don't have access to everything.
Oh.
Right. Theoretically, every district rep has their own Google Drive.
You do.
So people log in and they're like, "Oh, it's in my Google Drive," but it's not in everybody else's Google Drive.
Right.
So what I created, and I just haven't shared it with you guys yet, is, and Danny's going to talk about it, is one LPIN drive that has the membership reports, the resources, the guides, the SCC meeting agendas, like everything is in all of the resources, and everything will be in one drive that's broken down into different folders that everybody will have, all of the SCC members will have access to. And then some of the stuff will be access to county parties, the whole kit and caboodle. But it's also trying to get that back up.
Are we paying Google for that service? Because that's a lot of memory. If we don't have that existing, it's going to be an upgrade fee that we'll have to pay for.
No, it's just a folder that I'm adding to my chair drive that then gets shared with everybody.
Okay.
And then I'm moving the stuff that I already have in the Google Drive into those folders. It's just creating the hierarchy of data.
Yeah. Well,
instead of it just being in one drive.
Like I said, we'll discuss it in a minute under the data team stuff, which may need more time, apparently.
We are coming back. We're back to order. The time is 11:49, Mr. Secretary. The next item on the agenda is the team's gaming. So we had a meeting of the gaming committee on November 10th in Indianapolis. We had an in-person meeting. Mr. Lomax and Mr. Kinzer didn't bother to show. But Mr. Day, Mr. and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Schulteis did attend. And we came up with some good ideas and some things that we're going to be working on. And they're going to be, we picked some district spots to hold some poker tournaments. We're researching that. We hope to have a plan in place before the end of the year. So hopefully we'll have it in time to be discussed at our next meeting. But we want to hold more gaming events and actually using our license and creating a process for candidates and county parties using our exempt license, what that actual process would look like, and then the accountability of actually them following up on their final paperwork for each license. So that's the thing. Any questions about gaming?
Are we still covered by insurance for a gaming event? It used to be the state party had an insurance policy that Sam Goldstein set up or somebody. I'm wondering, do we still have that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have a policy, and if it is an event hosted or co-hosted by the LPIN, then we can get a rider. So if your county party is holding an event, as long as the LPIN is a co-host, we can get you an insurance rider. So like if you're going to be in the parade, and they require an insurance policy, you reach out to me, I connect you with Sam Goldstein, and then you get that rider policy. But the LPIN has to be a co-host.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about gaming? Which is another thing, Chuck, that we need to work on, is creating a form for people to fill out online for the insurance thing that goes to me and Sam. So then it's not sending me an email, but like here's where they input all the information. So if you actually want to contact Sam Goldstein and ask him what information he needs in that form, to get the process started at least, that would be great.
All right, I will do that.
Okay, data team, Mr. Lundy.
All right, so we had several candidates request data this year. As far as doors hit, the race is over now, so we've hit the finish line. We had 4,975 doors hit in 2023. Josh Turner kicked my ass, so props to him and applause all around. He deserves recognition for that. He had over 2,000 doors. I was at around 1,451. So yeah, he killed it. Russell Brooksbank and myself utilized some voter data for mailing lists. Libby Glass, Larry Silver requested and received phone banking lists prior to the election. So those extra pushes, those things were also happening in the background. I know, it's not the kind of thing everybody hears about. So, but yeah, they were doing some work. As far as an off-season project, because that's where we're at right now, we were kind of just talking about it during the break. I'm going to work with Kristen to develop a shared drive that will be shared with every SCC member. And this will be more of I'm calling it a reference library. So meeting minutes, agendas, copies of our bylaws, the thing Luke was just talking about, like, hey, here's the form you fill out for this thing, right? That should all be in an easy to find place. So you don't have to call Evan, call somebody else, remember who knows how to do that, and just be able to go onto your Google Drive and in a very organized fashion. It'll be organized very similar to the way the strategic plan is laid out with the 7 categories. So look for that to be happening soon. Me and Kristen are going to kind of work on that. I got some time off of work coming up. So we may even be reaching out to some of you for some things like, hey, Clayton, do you have in your drive somewhere meeting minutes that go all the way back? Because theoretically, if I want to look up meeting minutes from 2018, I should be able to do that. So a lot of those things, we have a lot of great knowledge and how-tos and shared, but it's in the wind, and we want to bring all that together, put it in a place where no matter who's on the SCC, as long as they have access to District 4 or District 5, whatever, rep drive, then it's in there, and they can just go to that, and it's very organized and easy to find. So we'll be doing that. It's not meant to be like when we're on these committees and we're doing research on things, and you kind of use your drive for that. But then when we finalize something, kind of like the job descriptions we just did, everybody sent in job descriptions, and then we kind of compiled them all together. What would be in this reference library is the finished product, not all the other stuff, to keep it clean and easy to read. So that's kind of one of the things me and Kristen are going to work on. And I know Evan will probably be involved a little bit because the chair's drive has a lot of information in it, right? So like the resolution we just passed, that should be in there for currently, so you can go look it up, and for future reference, so we can always look back on that and see what we did before. So yeah, the SCC reference library is something I want to get put together so that we can have access to the things we need. Additionally, with this time off and kind of being the off season, I'll be working with Groff. Again, we're not sure which direction things are going to go because voter gravity may or may not be a thing, and that'll change kind of how we do things on the data team with the voter lists. So we're also kind of waiting to see which way that ball is going to drop. But I'll be able to schedule some time to sit down with Groff over the holidays when we both have time off and really go over this, because some of it just takes like hours, literally, not figuratively, to just process the data to get it down into a usable format. So it's hard to just sit there and go, hey, okay, so you click this button and then you wait an hour. So hopefully that training will be coming up too, so that we have more than one person able to crunch that voter data for us. And I am open to questions and comments this time, because that's it.
So Danny, in a roundabout way, I asked this in the comment over here.
Thanks for raising your hand, Mr. Lomax. Go ahead.
Sorry. But if we do end up going to voter gravity instead of eCanvasser, will the information that's gathered from eCanvasser be able to be imported into voter gravity? Is it worth
there will be a way to do that because voter gravity utilizes tags. So even the, how I determine, hey, this person's Republican, Democrat, independent, disenfranchised voter, we'll be able to process that kind of in the background and then import those tags into voter gravity so that they're still there. We could do something similar with the eCanvasser data, like, hey, here's their previous average score. And so you can see like, hey, this score was a 5 last year. This is going to be a good interaction. Or it's a 1, so maybe we need to skip it. So things like that, right?
There's also supplemental data that we can add in if we find that to be necessary. So it has voter data and one of the major brokers, it's either L2 or Stottle, I can't remember, consumer data in there. So it's not as robust as the data that we have on our data side, and it can't do some of the things that we can by like creating profiles for districts and things like that. But we can incorporate that data in, especially for doing like surveys on the county level. If the county party goes out to go door to door to surveying pre-election, we can load up consumer data and targeting people. So we can create our own targeted lists to use within that system. But it is a great program, and I am looking forward to us having it, but it is up in the air right now. Mr. Engelberth, you were next, and then Mr. Schultz after that.
So I don't think I've actually been told how to get to this Google Drive. Can someone put some instructions somewhere in there? And the handoff to me, I think that was not told, because the 8th district at one time ran their own Google Drive. And so would like some help.
Yes, I would recommend talking to Mr. Schulteis about that.
Okay.
He's the keeper of all things Google. Mr. Schultz.
Yeah, so regarding the SCC reference library, specifically the comments previous minutes, if someone wants to help with this, both the former secretary and I are busy people and live far away. In the last 3 or 4 times I've been down in her area, she was not around. A lot of those are physical copies that she still has on her property. So if someone lives close to Miss Salgado or is friends with her and would like to get them and be a go-between so I could get them, because I have tried multiple times and for various reasons it has not happened. So I would love it if someone could get.
That's the sort of thing I'll be working on as we build this out, right? Like, and it's not been shared with everybody yet because it's still in process, right? But the idea is, yeah, we'll get a good solid start, at least the last couple of years, and from what we have on this SCC, and then start backfilling like older data as we can find it and get it. So yeah, just be aware. I might be emailing you for some really weird stuff from time to time. It's like, hey, do you have this thing from way back when somewhere in your email? And let's just trying to get it all together. But yeah, it's problems like that are exactly what I'm trying to solve.
To answer Ms. Glass's question, in the comments, she asked about just sending voter information automatically to all candidates. We are not the Republican Party. You are looking at 90% of the workforce within the party. We do not have the capability, technology-wise, or just bandwidth-wise, or human hours in the day to be able to do that.
And financially, because a lot of times that requires additional licensing.
Yep.
So if
And
they're not going to use it, then we can't really afford to give it to them.
Yep. And so we have agreed to the state party pays for eCanvasser as of right now. No. I don't think you're being hostile at all. It's a valid question. I just wanted to answer it. We pay for the licensing for eCanvasser. We only get so many contacts in it. And so if a candidate wants to use it, we load it up. And honestly, we had quite a few candidates the last 2 cycles who requested it and then didn't do a thing with it, which is very frustrating for the data team because they spend hours cutting turf, pulling contacts, working with that candidate to figure out who they want to target, who they want to talk to then have that candidate not even access it. Is very disheartening. And so, we don't have the capability to do that. Now with the voter gravity, each candidate signs up on their own. And so they would have access to it through the state party, but they're signing up for their own. They have access to all the voter information that's in the app. They have all of that. So they can actually do their own targeting if they want to, but we have a data team and a political director that can help with that. And so the political director should be reaching out to people. Thank you, Liz. Kristen actually told me that the other day, as a matter of fact. We had a whole 2-hour-long conversation about how I am perceived as being unapproachable and grouchy. And I said, well, I'll try to change. And she said, no, we like that about you. But anyway, they'll be able to access it on their own and then turn to the data team for maybe help refining any targeting or ideas on how to do things, which is something that we do right now is, helping candidates drill down the data in their district to say, what are the issues? Here are the things that we know about this district from a consumer standpoint. And then here are your issues that you're running on. How can we tie those in to make sure that you're talking to the right people about those issues? And the data team and the political director do that. But it's also kind of been on a if you ask for it basis. And we need to be better about telling the candidates that the resource and this knowledge is available for them to ask for. But also, they do need to ask for it. I get complaints as the state chair, and every state chair has, that the party didn't do enough to help a candidate. But if the candidate doesn't ask for help, there's only so much we can do. There's only a handful of us, and I can't watch every campaign and every race. But I try to be at least somewhat approachable, at least via email, to say, hey, I need help, or the district rep. I think we funded every request that came in to the SCC this year for candidates. Anybody who asked for support or resources for their campaign got it. So reach out and ask, but we need to be better about letting candidates know how to ask and what they can ask for. So that would be, exactly, a list of things that they could do. Right. And I get that candidates don't know that they don't know what they don't know, but also
we have a candidate handbook for that.
We do have a candidate handbook, and we have a political director who should be reaching out to these candidates. We have county chairs who should be letting their campaigns know, and we have district reps as well. So there's a lot of people who should be talking to people, and unfortunately that doesn't always happen.
And on the topic, we had 3 free trainings. All you had to do was show up and learn how to use the software. And, you can request your data when you show up for that training. But we had very low participation in 2 of those.
Mr. Lomax.
So something that I wanted to add was Larry, at the very last minute, found a program that did automated phone calls. And that was just something that we found through a business contact within the party in Hancock County that somebody recommended. So, but taking those kind of recommendations and things like that that you take away from campaigns that you run or that you help with, and sharing that with everybody, what the links are, what the program is, you know, that kind of stuff, like that helps too. It just as a resource guide. You know, and you can do that through social media. You can do that through your county party's websites, that kind of stuff. But, you know, we're in all these Facebook groups and everything together. And I know I need to get better about it too, but sharing that kind of information so that everybody has access to it when it's not something that will be on a Google Drive. It's a link to an external source or something like that that you've used and had success with. I think that's a good thing for us all to do too.
There is a resource center inside Civi. It's not built out yet, but there is one that we will be working out to. That's more of a forward facing, so that kind of anybody can access it. That's not the Google Drive, but so that does exist for those things, because not everything needs to be in the Google Drive, because the Google Drive also isn't just, it's not shared with the public. So there are some things that should be shared with candidates and activists and things like that as a forward facing point. Yes, I'm aware of that, Lori. Okay. Anything else about data? Okay, hearing none, moving on to the convention. Like I said, the convention package page is live. There are some gaps in the events in the agenda, but it's mostly laid out. And most of the gaps are like speakers and things like that. We're still working on a couple of training things. I did hear from Kara Schultz that she is likely available, but she is on a trip around Egypt right now. So she's going to confirm with me when she gets back, which won't be until after Thanksgiving. We do have Brian Nichols, who will be doing a special training program, which is talking about media, but then sitting down and doing one-on-one first-time podcast interviews for candidates. So it gives you kind of the what to expect when you're being interviewed, because a lot of the fear is the first one. Well, now you're going to get your first one on air with Brian Nichols. Sherry Charlo and Sam Goldstein will be doing a panel on what to expect and what's expected of you as a delegate to national, which I think is important. Lori, Kristen, Liz, am I missing anything updated wise that we needed to share?
I can't think of anything specifically.
Okay. Mr. Schulteis, are you going to be getting a cookie booth this year, or are you passing and letting Miss Alexander take over that?
He stole it.
Well, he kept it.
Hoarding it. He's hoarding it.
We will be having, oh, by the way, I did book the DJ. So we will have karaoke. Immediately following the banquet dinner, we will have karaoke. Good friend of mine who does horror conventions is going to be doing it for a very cheap price for us, which is great. Let's see, what else was there? Between the dinner, the end of the dinner, and the start of karaoke, we will have an auction item that will be done through the general convention of getting to hit me with a pie. So you get to pie the chair. If there are other people who would also like to volunteer to raise money by people bidding on getting a pie to the face, please let me know. I'm definitely doing it. I feel like that should be a hot, and I'm not talking about like one of those little pie pans with like just filled with whipped cream. I'm going to go buy a chocolate cream pie. So it will be a full pie. It's too difficult to do that, Liz. And that's part of the benefit of being there, is being able to bid on really cool auction items. We will be able to take online payments, so we will create an online store, but it will only open at the close of the auction, at the close of the convention, and you'll have to be present to be able to get that code. Let's see. Anything else about the convention, Mr. Schultheis?
Not want to have multiple cookie booths?
We're going to be limited on cookie booth space, or actually vendor space in general. But if there is availability, maybe we'll let the Bloomington troop of the Daisies, right? Of the Daisies have a table. Mr. Kinzer.
So at one of our previous meetings, you mentioned about giving away, it'd be our 50 years doing hats and different things. I'm still waiting to get the designs from you on what you wanted on those.
Okay. I will put a note for myself to Monday.
I just want to check the vendors to make sure if there's a possibility to get them made a little bit cheaper and better for you, then for sure I want to check for you.
November 20th, I will send the specs and a rewritten outline of what I want to Lori, Ms. Schillings, because you volunteered to create the graphic for the hats, remember?
Sure. I totally remember. Thanks.
We recorded that meeting. I can find
in the quantity that you would want also, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. And then I will, once I get that back from her, then I will send that to you as soon as possible. Was that it? Anything that I'm missing? I would shove a pie in your face, Danny. I mean, it's a solid 100.
How much would you pay for that?
At least $100.
Nice. Count me in then.
Okay, moving on. Paul, was there anything that you needed to add in a 2023 election recap? I feel like we took a little extra time in your report. Do you need any time for an election recap?
No, I believe I covered it in my report.
Okay. That's actually a good idea, Mr. Hagerman. That's a great idea. Legal updates. I just heard from Oliver Hall yesterday. Yesterday was the deadline for us to file our opening brief and our appeal on the ballot access lawsuit. I'm not saying anything that's confidential, but I have not received it yet. I normally don't get those things for a couple of days until after they filed it. He did file it yesterday. I don't anticipate getting it until after Thanksgiving. I might get it Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's the holidays. So I may not get a copy of the brief until then. And I'm not willing to pay the money to go and get it without getting it from him. Any questions about that? Okay, hearing none. 2024 National Convention. We're going to have at least 38 delegate spots. So if you want to go as an SCC member, there is definitely a really good chance that you will get a spot. Last time we had 31. So we've got another 7. So remember and stress this to the people who you are talking to who are considering being a delegate. They need to be there Thursday through Monday. Arrive Thursday, leave Monday. Okay. We do not want to be in a situation where somebody has to leave at noon on Sunday and they think all of the business is done. We don't want that. I'm going to be getting there probably Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'm going to be staying an extra couple of days beyond that. So I'm probably going to be there for a solid week. Any questions about the 2024 convention? I do highly recommend staying at the host hotel. I'm very familiar with DC, and plus I was just at the host hotel in August. There is nothing nearby that is in walking distance, and while it may appear to be nearby, it is uphill. And It is just as bad as San Francisco, and it will be hot as hell that day, and it is a swamp. Okay. When they say drain the swamp, DC is a swamp. It will be hot and miserable. You don't want to be walking to the convention space. Mr. Schultz.
Any more word on a delegate space for our delegates?
No, the last I heard was the new chair of the convention committee apparently seems to think we were requesting it for free. And when I informed them that that was not the case, that we have always had an extra space, we purchased one of the suites, we've always purchased it. This has never been a problem before. Why is it such a problem now? Why are you people incompetent? There was no response. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking as I was typing it out. But I have not heard back. Yes. I shouldn't say yes. There are people who are like automatically going to be or highly likely to be selected as delegates. SCC members are highly likely to be, well, the chair, all the officers, the chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer will be selected if we're going, if we want to go. And I believe 2 of us have to go. Everybody else, it's not 100%, but we have at least 38 slots. So it is very likely, especially if you say you've already registered and got your ticket and got your hotel, as long as you're a member in good standing and people don't hate you, you will probably be selected as a delegate. I just can't promise you that. Okay. So I don't want to tell you yes, because, you know, if people hate you, you might not be selected. I don't believe people hate you. But
people hate me and I was still selected. So
that's true. We sent Clayton, and
likely not
no
a
one
problem.
likes Clayton, like at all, of all of us. Actually, you weren't even on the SCC at the time. But so yeah, I'd register. I've already got my hotel room, and no, I got my flight. I don't have the hotel room yet. Does that answer your question, Libby? And you can speak during the meeting. You don't have to type everything in the chat. Or you can type everything in the chat too. That's fine. Okay, cool. Any other questions about the National Convention? Okay, hearing none. Unfinished or LPIN holiday party, December 16th. It will be the same place that we're holding the SCC meeting earlier in the day. I think we've scheduled the SCC meeting to start at 3 p.m. and that is start at 3 p.m. So it'll be at the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Indianapolis. The tickets for the holiday party are $25 for adults, $10 for children. It is family friendly. We will have a cash bar available. And lots of fun things. The white elephant, the ugly sweater contest, and also a dessert march. So like a cakewalk type thing, but more than just cake. So like banana bread and zucchini bread and pie and trays of cookies. And so if you would like to bake or buy some desserts for the cake or the dessert march, please let me know. That would be great. Because everybody who gets a ticket to the event gets to participate in that. Unloaded, Liz, unloaded or unleaded. Yep. Any questions about the holiday party? Okay, cool. New business. I'm going to hand this over to Danny. He requested time to talk about development director. So, Mr. Lundy, you have the floor for 15 minutes.
Right. So we passed our strategic plan. What was that, like 4 years ago? And the basic premise of it was first we find a development director or finance director, whatever you want to call them, to go out and raise a bunch of money so that we can hire a executive director, right, to get things done. And we've not done that yet. And I know we've had a lot going on, especially with like civvy switchovers and things like that. And I would like to start the conversation, at least. We have a job description already about starting to advertise for this and make it known. It doesn't have to be internal to the party. As long as they want to make some money, making money for us, that's great. In addition to that, there's a few other things that we've talked about today. You know, Andy saying we need, or I'm sorry, not Andy, but anyway, we need some social media help, things like that. And those could just be emails. Hey, help wanted, and let's get something up on our website that we have these positions open. They're volunteer positions. Here's what your responsibilities are. We need help. If we don't ask for it, we're not going to get it, and we need to start asking for it. And so I just kind of want to start the conversation about that. I mean, the development director is a much bigger job, and I think we should probably advertise that for a little bit of time, vet some candidates, find the right person. But in my mind, I would like to do that hopefully before the convention. And then they can start working with Evan to develop those contacts and things like that so that we can roll into 2024, which is going to be a big year for us. We have a governor's race. It's going to be a great time to fundraise. And we should have somebody dedicated to doing that while we're doing all the other things that make this party run. Evan's only one guy. He's great, but he can't do everything all the time. He just can't. It's not physically possible. There's not enough time in the day unless he has a time stone behind him there that I'm unaware of. So I would like to start that search for that development director, as well as some of the down the ballot things. You know, we also have an opening for field director, or at least if we had an event director. So when we have a holiday party, we can turn it over to them, go book the space, go do the things. And then specialization is a thing for a reason. If that's all this one person is doing and they only have to plan an event every couple of months, it's going to get done way better than us doing it while we're doing everything else. It's just how things work, right? The assembly line was a big deal for a reason. So I just want to start that conversation about possibly advertising and starting to cultivate contacts for development director. You know, I don't know if we take out an ad in the IBJ or whatever, but let's start talking about this, right? Let's get it on our mind and on our agenda to get it done. That's it. That's my whole presentation there.
So I agree with everything Danny said, except for his timeline. One, a development director is a salaried position, and we're not in a position to where we could do that, and I don't believe we will be by convention. But I believe that it is something that we should be planning for, and I would like to have a job listing up on different places, and the IBJ is a great, even if it's just putting out a press release to the IBJ that we're looking. I would like to do that the week before the primary for 2024. Because David did make a good point to me the other day when we were discussing this, which is there are going to be some really good people who are going to be out of work after a primary. And so it's a good opportunity to have it in front of them right before the world comes to an end, that we're hiring. But I think if we are building towards the next couple of months so that at the SCC meeting post-convention, we actually flesh out, this is what we can offer, this is what we're looking for. I think we should have an employment committee or an HR policy and team in place at that point. All of those things put together so that at the SCC meeting, we can say, this is what we will need, minimum. This is what we're offering. This is what we expect. These are the things. Here's how we're going to market it, advertise it. This will be our process for reviewing and then ultimately hiring somebody so that right before the primary, we can have everything in place to do that. I think the development director is actually the perfect place to start with this, for a couple of reasons. Like Danny said, I can't do everything. I will still be doing a lot of the fundraising. But it would be good to have somebody who sees how I fundraise, who knows the process that I use for doing donor development, that can then take over if I leave or if I die. That institutional knowledge is passed on to the next person. A lot of it's intuitive stuff. That's not something that I can just write down. There are records of like who I've contacted and what the process has been and where they are, but a lot of it's just feel and knowing how to do it. And I'd like to have the person training through the second half of 24 and the beginning of 25. I don't know if I'm going to stay on after 25. I may not. So we should have somebody who can do that, because the money is what's given us the ability to do the things that we're doing that are allowing candidates to be successful and to grow. If that fundraising cuts off, if we go back down to being a 54,000 a year party, all of those programs go away because we won't have the money to pay for them. So I think that that's probably the most important paid position to be looking for. And then after that, setting it up for maybe the executive director. I think it's possible with a finance director and somebody working with me on fundraising, we might be able to actually hire an executive director before the 25 convention. That'd be great. And have an office that's not in Morgan County. No matter how many times Dandy sends me listings for places. Mr. Hagerman.
Do you think it's too much to ask to have this person put some skin in the game by saying, we would like to pay you, but you'll have to, we need fundraising to have the money to pay you? That's
no, you're going to get shitty candidates. Excuse my language. That's just not a thing. We need to have a salary. And then, so the IRS and the FEC frown on development directors, fundraisers being paid commissions. They look at salary, and the salary has to match what the industry standard is for either a part-time or full-time position. You can have bonuses that are based off of milestones and metrics, but they do not like commission-based, and it causes audits and problems. They do not like it at all. I've worked as a professional fundraiser. That wasn't the case 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you could get a job that was completely just straight commission, and it paid really good because you got really good commission if you were good at it. They don't do that anymore. Even grant writers now, they can do their own projects, but if you're hired to be a grant writer, they typically pay a salary and then a cut of whatever the grant is.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up now, because we need to have that salary scale that's going to be in compliance, and as well as something we're all comfortable with. But we need to hash that out if we're going to hire somebody, right? Like,
and we have to
start having these conversations. And I know me and Evan talked about like the break rate concept of like, you have a base salary and, you know, basically your percentage, you have to fundraise so much to basically pay your own salary. And then after that, you're breaking rate. So you get that bonus Evan was just talking about every month. Like, okay, you've fundraised enough to pay for your salary, and then you break rate. And so now you're getting a bonus on top of that. But we need to sit down and have those conversations and be able to present something to the SEC that we all agree and approve of to get to the place where we can hire somebody. So we got to start having these conversations now.
So we don't end up with a zero metrics policy and end up paying somebody $7,000 a month to get one big donor to give what he always gives every year. Didn't cover the salary.
I got
it. Anyway, ask Kristen about conversation that person may have had with me sometime. She can give you some funny anecdotes about that conversation. I think this is important. I think that it's the next step in professionalizing our party, is bringing on professional staff, as well as we then have goals for this person that we can then grow our party based off of those goals. We'll have somebody that's dedicated to fundraising. We have somebody who is running the party. We have these things. I think it's the next step in professionalizing the party, and I think it's great that we're doing this. And it's time.
And technically, we're behind schedule because this was our goal 4 years ago or whatever, right?
It was a 10-year goal. It was a 10-year political.
It was, but we're 4 years behind schedule.
We are. Okay. There's no action to be taken on this today, but I would like for people to step forward to talk about being on a committee to help put this together, and all the aspects. I will definitely be on the committee. But if you are interested in serving on the committee, that is going to be basically outlining one, how we need to do this, the entire process, from creating an HR policy and a committee, employment review process, candidate review, everything, so that it can be presented to the SCC after the convention, the meeting after the convention in March. If you are interested, please email me. Danny Lundy is automatically on the committee because he opened his mouth. So it'll be me and Danny, but I'd like for a couple other people to be on there as well. Mr. Schulteis, I believe you need to be on the committee because it deals with fundraising or finances. Anybody else that's interested, please let me know. This will just be a working committee. So it'll just be at the chair's discretion to appoint. And it'll be the committee will have no authority to do anything but make recommendations to the full SCC. So please let me know as soon as possible if you're interested in participating in the committee. Moving on to candidate recruitment, I'm going to be working with Danny to do the your name's mentioned a lot today, Danny, sorry. To work on creating our Libertarian profiles so that we can send candidate recruitment letters for the 2024 legislature. So that's state rep and state senate. I'd like to get as many of those seats filled as possible. I'd like to have a congressional candidate in all 9 congressional districts as well. We already have 3 people seeking the nomination for governor. I will say that only one of them has actually filled out our application from within the party. We have one publicly declared candidate for governor, or excuse me, lieutenant governor. She has also filled out the paperwork internally. And we have one declared candidate for U.S. Senate who has also not filled out the paperwork at this point, but that's just because I think he doesn't know he needs to, even though this has been a process for years. So yeah, that's where we're at. If you guys have ideas for people to run for Congress or state legislature in your district, please let me and Paul Copeland know. Paul Copeland is going to be very busy this year doing a lot of work. Is Paul still here? Oh, there he is. Okay. Sorry, Paul. Hi, Paul. So lots of activity, lots of things. I can tell you who the current applicants are. It's Don Rainwater and Tanya Hudson are the only 2 that have applied. Mr. Hagerman.
Is there any value in looking at the past election and trying to recruit independent candidates to become party members?
No, yes and no. I would do it on a very local level. I don't think it's good for the state party to be doing that, to reaching out to independents that were running on a local level. The reason being is I have no earthly idea why you ran as an independent. Maybe it was because you were too batshit crazy Republican to run under the Republicans, or you were too leftist, socialist, fascist Democrat to get the Democrat nomination, so you ran as an independent. Local county parties will have a better understanding of that, or at least can go to somebody and be like, hey, why did you run as an independent? So no, I don't think we as the state party should be targeting people who ran as an independent for that. However, we should be looking in Civi to see everybody who has ever run and trying to get them to run again. That's thing number 1. And then thing number 2 is the data project with me and Danny. Mr. Schultz.
So I know there's like specific offices that you can't hold at the same time. Would people who just could I run for like state house as a city councilman, or is that like a conflict?
In Indiana, as long as you are not up for re-election, you can run for any other office. So you can run for the state legislature while being a city councilor. We don't have the resign after declaration in Indiana. You would only have to resign your seat if you won. Other states like Arizona, when you make the public announcement that you're running, you're required to resign from whatever office you currently hold.
But if you won, you'd have to resign. You couldn't be both.
Correct. That is correct. You can't hold two offices. You can hold appointments, though. You can be elected and appointed to a non-elected board or commission. So if Danny Lundy on the Parks Board was elected to the Mooresville Town Council, and they may have different policies, but within the law, I don't think he would have to resign from the Parks Board. He may not be within the rules for the appointment because it may say like so many that are elected and so many that aren't. Some of those things are weird like that, but he would not have to resign if he had gotten elected.
I think Mooresville rules says I wouldn't have gotten paid to be on the park board.
You said 1 o'clock, Kristen. And it's not 1 o'clock yet. She already left, didn't she? Okay. She told me I have to be out by 1, and so I got it so that we would be done by 12:51. So she's early leaving. Anyway, any other questions or ideas? Does anybody have any good ideas for what we can do as a state party for candidate recruitment?
Maybe some YouTube videos. I mean, we have a YouTube channel. Just little 3 or 4 minute, like something you can share with your friends. You ever want to be involved in politics? You upset with the party? Shh, I'm in a meeting. Sorry. I know you're very cute. So we should use the YouTube channel.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Ms. Schillings.
Thank you. I think we should actually develop a marketing plan for raising awareness for candidate needs and have it distributed through traditional marketing channels, social media channels, and also possibly Google Ads.
You know what? I got an idea, Ms. Schillings.
Yep.
Why don't we do a now hiring campaign?
You cut out entirely. Can you repeat that, please?
I said, why don't we do a now hiring campaign?
Exactly. I mean, it also that, but again, general awareness of, hey, you tired of the two-party system? We really want your voices in your local communities and representing your local communities.
Right. I'm saying, but just branding it as like we're now hiring quality candidates.
Right.
Type of thing. Do you hate the state? Are you tired of the boot on your neck?
Those are quite harsh words for hiring mechanisms, but perhaps, yeah.
Don't think you're qualified? Look at the jackasses that are elected now.
I guess my point, sir, would be to actually implement a marketing plan with strategy, timing, who our market segment might be, and just establish something that's like a plan rather than we should do this.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That sounds great. Who here has experience doing that?
Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. So I'm happy to work with you, Ms. Schillings, and have you. I will step out of your way, but work with you. But,
okay.
But I will listen to you and your recommendations and just be there to give you resources or to say we absolutely can't do that, type of thing.
It'll be mostly a budget to purchase advertising and target advertising.
I think if you came up with the plan and the branding for it, then that's something that I can go out and fundraise for, but I can't fundraise without the thing. If you want to set time for us to work together.
You are completely silent in your last statement. You were going to fundraise and then what?
I said I can fundraise for it once I have the thing. Am I cutting out for everybody else? No. Okay. It's just you.
Get closer to your microphone. Tell us all your words.
It's just you. Everybody else shook their head.
We can all hear him, Lori.
Yeah, it's you. You're the problem.
It's fine. I'll create a marketing plan for you.
But if you want to set up time to talk about it and work on it together, I'm more than happy to do that. And then I can go out and fundraise off it when we're done.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a great idea. Any other ideas or suggestions or questions? Okay, hearing none. The last thing on the agenda is the county and district conventions. Please be in communication with your county parties, helping them with their county conventions. If they have any officer elections, help them with their bylaws questions. Make sure that they're sending out the notice that they need to send. If they're not in Civi, you will likely need to send that notice for them. If you remember, my approach is to send it to all contacts within the county and to just say, you know, if you're only members can participate, if you're unsure about your membership, you know, please contact me, or everybody else can hear me. Sorry, Lori. Anyway, reach out to your county parties, help them send out their notifications. And then also remember, it's not me. Everybody else can hear me, Lori. So it's you. It's skipping for you. I don't know why. It hates you. You heard that. Also, it's your responsibility to work with the host county for your district convention to help them call it, to help them organize it. Again, before the state convention, so that the district rep, you're either reelected to the position or they appoint somebody new, like somebody new. But it's your responsibility as the district rep to help the lead county do that. Please make sure that all of those things get listed on the calendar for all of the county conventions and your district convention. District convention can also be done online. I think that that's completely appropriate if need be, because it's not open. It is open to the public for viewing, but only county chairs participate in it. So I think it's fine if you want to do it via Zoom for your district convention. That's perfectly fine. Any questions about that? Okay, hearing none. Any announcements? Okay, hearing no announcements. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I would make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Is moved by Mr. Kinzer. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schick. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Okay, we are officially adjourned. I will stop the recording.